Hey everybody, it's me, Cold, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a multiplayer tutorial because some of you guys out there probably have just joined us for the Retribution expansion pack, which has just come out through Europe and the US very recently. And a lot of people on the online forums and some of the newer players are having a hard time getting used to the mechanics in this game because they are somewhat more complicated than some of the other RTS games that are out and available in the market right now. And I was really prompted to make this because a lot of times you're being forced to play a game and you lose 500 to 0 in your victory point counter just because you don't quite know what's going on. So today we're just going to do a really basic tutorial on what really a lot of the symbols mean, what the units do, what the armor types are, and just some of the really basic stuff that you'll see in every single game. This is not specific to a race. This is not specific to a certain playstyle. What we're doing is the basics of everything. So this is not going to be any tactics. That may be a future video, but for right now, that's it. Anyway, first of all, I want you to all welcome Thomas. He's a far, far more experienced player than I will ever be. And so go ahead and say hello, Thomas.
Hello.
All right, so Thomas, why don't we start here? Why don't you give us a little bit of your background, just what you played? Did you join when the game first came out and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I played from pretty much the beginning release. I didn't manage to play the original beta because of problems with my computer, but pretty much since the game first came out.
All right, excellent. So, obviously, Thomas is a far more experienced player than I am, and if we were going head to head, he would ruffle stomp me into the ground. No questions asked. So, first off, we really want to introduce what we have in the beginning here, and what you're going to start out with in every single game is you're going to be given your hero unit and one of your basic squads. Now, one of these basic squads is determined by which race you play, and just because I decided to choose a Space Marines as my race that I'm playing today, I got a squad of scouts in the very beginning. Now, obviously, with all the different races, this is going to be totally different to each individual one. The Orcs get some Sluggers, the Eldar get a Guardian squad, I believe, and the list goes on. But they each share this common theme that you get one hero and one basic unit at the beginning. So in the beginning, we're just going to go over some really, really basic points that's going to show you what we can do. So Thomas, in the top right-hand corner, the very top of the map, on my side, I actually have a control point or a requisition point. Can you go ahead and capture that real quick? And while he's going and doing that, we're going to explain to you, first off, about capturing resources. So while Thomas is moving out here, I'm going to move my squad to hopefully intercept them. There's some basic scouts. I'm in this game. We're not playing to beat each other into the ground right now. We're just trying to help you guys on the internet understand a little bit more about what's going on. So, while they get into position, we're going to go back to our main base, and at the beginning of every match, you should have enough resources. You can see they're kind of high for us right now because, we've started the game out, we want to get some resources rolling just to show you that we have, we can speed this thing along a little bit. But in the beginning, as most races, you'll be able to get one other unit straight away. So, I'm going to choose to get some Tactical Space Marines just to buy a unit. So how do you do that? You go ahead and you can click on your main stronghold or your main base, whatever it is to your particular race, and then you select the unit you want to buy. In this case, you can always press F1, it will take you there, select it, and you'll be able to red go. They each do have hotkeys, and they are a little bit different for each race, so I'm not going to go into it too much. And here we go. We have our first group of Tactical Space Marines. Hooray! The basic core of the Imperials, or the the Space Marine chapters. I'm definitely not going to go into too much fluff, even though I lived in the UK and love the fluff associated with it. It's just not going to help you in the multiplayer right now. So as we see up here, we do see our Orc friend who's just go ahead and gone and captured a resource node from us. So Thomas, if you can just move your boys back a little bit to the other side so we don't get engaged. And I'm going to send my Space Marine squads to go ahead and capture it. So to capture an item, you just have a unit they cannot be a vehicle. Vehicles can decap, some vehicles can decap, but most infantry, only infantry can actually capture resource points, victory points, power nodes. Note, your commander or your hero unit is also considered an infantry in this respect, that he is able to capture a resource control node, or a power node, or a victory point. So as you see here, right now we're just capturing the point, and in just a second it's going to move up again. Now at the beginning of this, you're going to see that I'm only going to get a very small amount of requisition from it. And then over time this builds up to get increased. At the start, when you capture it, you only get 10 requisition, and then if you go down, actually I misclicked in the wrong direction. In the end, it will be capped at a max of 30. So over time, it's going to increase the amount of revenue you get. So the longer you can hold that point, the more requisition you get in the end. So now that we've gone over some of the main items, we're going to go over here, and there's a power generator. So what you're going to have is your power generator. You're going to have to capture it, then you're going to have to expand a basic power node. And once you've done that, you get a little bit of power rolling. The next major step is you're going to have to call in some power generators. So what here is, you see I pulled in 3 power generators straight away. In a real game, you may not have all the requisition you need straight away to get 3 generators, but 3 generators is the maximum for any one power node. Once it's capped and delivered, each generator adds an extra 10 energy to that power node. So as you see, they all just came online and we're now rolling in power. So that's your basic economy going here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and talk about the next major point about winning any multiplayer battle, and that's capturing a victory point. So what we're going to do is take our scouts here, and we're going to actually capture a victory point. So Thomas, if you can go ahead and capture one on your side so we don't tick each other out, as they say. And so we're both going to capture a victory point. At this point, this is one of the things in strategy you may want to choose to capture first or after your resources, but yet again, this is not about strategy right now. We're just telling you basics of the game that you'll see in every single multiplayer game. Now, to move on straight away, we've gone through our major basic unit creation, how to capture points, how to add power nodes, and how requisition works over time. The next thing we're going to do is talk about your tech level. So in your Stronghold, you start with tech level 1, which is your basic units, your basic tier 1. What you can do afterwards is go ahead and go to Stronghold level 2 or any type of encampment tech level 2 so you can get your higher tech units out. Higher tech units also tend to cost more power than your tier 1 units. So all you do is go to your main building, go to your unlock screen and click, and it's going to take some time to unlock. When this unlocks, you'll have the ability to upgrade, give certain upgrades to your units, and get new units in the process. So in the meantime, while we talk about this, let's just go ahead and talk about upgrading units and specializing a unit type. Now this can be very particular for each individual race, so what I'm just going to tell you is how to upgrade and then what some of the symbols above each unit's heads mean. In this instance, we're going to take our scouts and we're going to go ahead and say we want some shotguns. Shotguns are a great knockback tool and they have an area of effect against light units. So what we want to do is just go ahead and click on the upgrade. It's going to upgrade to the shotgun, and as you see, voila boom, they've all been given shotguns, and the symbol above their head has changed, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. So as you see, we have our force commander. Now the two big bars on the left and right hand side of the force commander mean that he's a hero unit, and the center icon is his designation, or what he is excelling at. And the force commander happens to be a hero that excels at melee combat, as you can see indicated by the fist. Now if we look at our tactical marines, you will see that they have just a bullet icon, which means they are ranged damage infantry. They're good against infantry. They also have another ability, but yet again that is towards each individual race, so I'm not going to be going over that right now. Now here's something interesting. The scouts have a bullet sign, meaning they're good against infantry, but they also have a little circle around them, meaning that they have an AoE effect, or an area of effect, meaning they're going to hit more than one unit if a group of units are clustered. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and just get a Plasma Devastator squad, which has one of the major other symbols in the game, which is the lightning bolt. And this really indicates that they're good for all forms of damage. They're good against armor and infantry. And I'm also going to get a Devastator squad afterwards. In the meantime, while we get these squads out, Thomas, I believe we can give these people a small demonstration. Do you happen to have a shooter squad anywhere?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Could you move them to the center of the field? Alright, and here we go, our Plasma Devastators. As you can see, they have a lightning bolt and an area of effect, meaning they are good against all forms of armor, or effective against all forms of armor, and they have an area of effect attack. This means that they can be deployed and give you an all-around. They're not particularly bad at anything, nor are they particularly perfect at anything else, but they are good all-around units. Now, here's one of the other things that you may notice above their heads is a little time icon. This little clock indicates that they have a setup time. This is mostly due to balance the game out. These heavy weapons need some time to set up so that they can't be deployed immediately, which gives you a little bit of strategical edge if you can think ahead just a few steps. As you see, our Devastator squads on the symbols have 3 little bullets, meaning they're good at firing really quickly, and they actually have suppression as well. So now that we've introduced you to all the major basic types, we're gonna introduce you to what some of these units may be better at and what some of these units may not be so good at. So right now, I'm just gonna send my Force Commander, who is a melee hero, against some shooter boys. Now, shooter boys are great in range damage, but once you get up close to them, they're not so good. As you can see, my Force Commander is going to be able to do a significant amount of damage, not only being a hero, but also sending in the right squad against the right opposite squad. Now, obviously, in a multiplayer game, Thomas would have already seen this and gone, "Oh bugger, I need to retreat." And go ahead, Thomas, go ahead and save your units there in the field. Excellent. Now, my Force Commander is not going to be able to chase them down right now and do any more damage, but we've sent the Orc Horde running back. So what we're going to do now is show you the interesting digression of this. So now we've just seen that our Force Commander is great at melee, but how does this affect other units? So what we have now is we're going to send our Scouts against some Slugger Boys in the center. If you wouldn't mind, Thomas? I'm sorry, I should have given you a little bit more of a heads up. Now, my Scouts have been upgraded with shotguns. So, getting in there, they're going to be good once they get to the infantry. And go ahead and, Thomas, and charge down my Scouts. You're going to see my Scouts are going to do a little bit of damage to sluggers, but then once they actually get in melee combat, they're not going to fare as well. And in fact, look how fast they go down, and I'm going to lose my entire squad. Well done, Thomas. You've done what you've done and would have done in real life. So, now that we've just lost that squad, and we've realized some of the basic counters to each other, that in melee, a ranged squad is going to lose a mass amount of their DPS, and they will not be able to fire their main weapons. So this was perfectly demonstrated by when those sluggers moved in and attacked my Scouts. On the range, they would have been able to do great and take them off, but in actual melee combat, they're really, really bad. So now what we're going to deal with is another major item in the game, really armor types. Now, Thomas, you are more experienced. In fact, you're a level 60 Space Marine player, so you know a lot about armor types. So the Scouts, correct me if I'm wrong, have got light armor. The Marines have got heavy armor, and a Dreadnought would have vehicle plating. Is this correct?
That is correct.
All right, and just to get a little bit in deeper, could you say, I don't want to say real statistics about what each armor type does, but possibly if you can say and go ahead and say what maybe the difference between light and heavy armor and some of the attributes that go along with it.
Okay, so heavy armor will take less damage from ranged attacks, but power weapons and certain range attacks such as plasma weapons will do extra damage against them.
Okay, excellent. And what about the light armor?
Light armor, the units will generally be weaker, but they'll be faster moving and take standard damage from power weapons. There'll be no bonuses to the weapons attacking them.
Okay, excellent. And so that really goes to show what really different types of armor does. And then vehicle plating, unlike in some other games, vehicle plating is massively different. In Dawn of War 2, vehicle plating means that you have a vehicle and basically, do you have any, I don't know, say shooters and sluggers in the field by chance?
Yes, I do. How many would you like?
Oh, I don't know. If you can send let's say 2 squads of sluggers and a squad of shooters, if you can send them to the center, and what they're going to meet is Imperial Dreadnought. Now, the Imperial Dreadnought does actually have vehicle plating, so it's going to take an extremely reduced amount of damage from both any type of weapon that basically isn't designed to kill vehicles, as we see in this demonstration here. The Dreadnought is literally going to go ahead, be surrounded, but it doesn't matter. He's not taking any damage whatsoever because he has a certain type of armor. In this case, unfortunately, Thomas just does not have the right weapons to deal with such a threat. And that's another part we're going to talk about in just a little bit of how to really counter armor types. But for the moment, you've seen that one Dreadnought is basically gone into 2 squads of sluggers and having a squad of shooters on him, and he's taken virtually no damage. Now, Thomas, just in the meantime, if you can go ahead and get a beamy death gun on the field and a few squads of sluggers and shooters, and we're going to demonstrate some suppression.
Okay.
Now, here's one of the major aspects of the game: is first of all, positional units. Units like a units like a Devastator Marine Squad have this ability, or passive ability, I should say, which is Suppression. Suppression slows a unit, makes it not be able to shoot back as much, and it does damage. All these things put together will give you the ability to lay down more fire on your enemy than you are receiving. Therefore, you're going to have the upper hand in this battle. Now, Thomas, if you could move all your squads into the center and then run them into my Devastator squads, which are in the top right-hand corner-ish from the center.
Okay.
Now, what this is going to demonstrate is, even though he's going to make a mass approach on me with several units, which, how can I put this, have overwhelming numbers, good, he's going to get suppressed, and he's going to get slowed down. He's also an open cover field, and look, they can't move in, they're trying to move in, but they're slowed so much they're taking excessive damage, and by the time they even get to the melee range, they're just not going to be able to do anything, and he's forced to retreat. That's a perfect example of a good placement of a suppression squad, slowing your enemy down, allowing you to do damage to them, and moving in. So now that we've dealt with a lot of the basic mechanics of some of your infantry, we're going to go back to the vehicle armor. Because as we saw earlier, that 2 slugger squads and a shooter squad were virtually ineffective against a Dreadnought, which has vehicle plating on it, or vehicle armor type. Now, Thomas, if you go ahead and move your your beamy death guns to the center of the map, where they can have a couple of shots at my Dreadnought, that'd be grand. While he's getting them in position, we're just going to have a slight detour on going back up to upgrades. Now each squad has upgrades, and what they're able to do is you're able to reinforce your squads. In many of them you're able to add a leader of some sort, or you're able to change the weapon layout to be more specific to a certain engagement that you want to counter, or you may want to have one squad that deals with one item very particularly. And now we have our Dreadnought in the center of the field and Thomas's beamy death gun somewhere out there. I'm going to send my Dreadnought into the center of the field, and he's mostly going to maybe see some giant... Oh boy, yeah, and you see he was actually waiting in an ambush for me, and oh boy, and look at that. Almost instantly going down to that fire. In fact, there we go. So two beamy death guns are already focusing down Dreadnought. That's going to be a quick death blow to any force. Now, what we demonstrated right there is it's the right weapon type that we care about. Now, you may have seen just a new symbol overhead on top of the heads of the beamy death guns, and this was the kind of rocket symbol. This is just a basic symbol showing it's a squad very much dedicated to anti-vehicles. As you see, I've just upgraded my Devastator Marines with a las cannon, which does a massive amount of damage to heavily armored units. To show you this, we're going to have a lot of fun. And Thomas, you have a nice army built up in the background. Are you on tech level 3 by any chance?
Yes, I am.
Alrighty, could you go ahead and get out a walking tin can?
Sure, but you have to kill a few of my units first.
Oh, of course. So, now that we've I'm going to send my Plasma Devastator squad into the center of the field, and we're going to go over there. And that actually brings up another very good point. Population cap. In this game, you can only have X amount of units on the field at any one time. So your army composition is actually incredibly important. Oop. Come on, Devastators, set up. Oh, and look, he's going to be able to fire. Oh, I think I've actually mis-set up my units here. And in fact, I think I have. Oh no! But Thomas is being very kind and allowing me to win with very ease. Not allowing me. And there we go. A nice little AoE effect on it. My tactical marines getting in there with the fight. Thomas, are you about ready to make your tank?
Yep, building it now.
Excellent. So we're going to have a quick demonstration of exactly what he did to us, we're going to do to him, killing his tank. Now, there's nothing really spectacularly about this, but we just wanted to give you a good demonstration of how this is. And I also wanted to demonstrate something very special, and that's rear armor hits versus frontal armor hits. So, let me move my Plasma Devastator squad back, and my las cannon squad up a little bit. Oh, my tactical marines, let's go ahead and retreat, which is another thing we'll be covering in just a little bit. So now that Thomas is guiding out his big looted tank, we're going to show you two things: front armor hits and rear armor hits, and how important they can be very much be, and what they really do. Now, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, but a rear armor hit not only does more damage, but it does like a critical damage, if you will. Is that correct?
Yes, it does.
Is there a certain multiplier involved, like a 2 times or 1.25?
There could be, but I'm not sure what it is.
There we have it, folks. Even some of the most experienced players in the world don't know exactly what they do every day. But we do know it's effective, and you do a lot more damage from a rear armor hit. So, Thomas, if you can go ahead and move your tank in the center, and hopefully he's not going to shoot my boys and knock them over, which is another thing we'll cover in just a second, or a little bit further down the road, I should say. And here we have a giant tin can walking out, and as you can see, he's going to be able to do some damage, but our las cannon is going to be doing a lot more damage to his vehicle armor type. Now, Thomas, if you will, if you can pull back your death walking can and send in any basic squad that can take out a las cannon, because what I want to represent here is that these anti-vehicle guns that have just been set up are great at getting rid of targets that have armor, but unfortunately they fire very slowly and they do massive amounts of damage, which does not mean they're incredibly useful for taking on any form of anti-vehicle armor. And here we go, we have some sluggers moving in, and look, we even missed with the first shot, and at this point our Devastators are in melee combat and they're just going to get ripped to shreds. So we're going to quickly retreat them and get out of there. So now that we've gone over most of the basics of what each unit type really does and what the symbols above their heads mean, Thomas, is there anything you want to add to this section?
Yeah, it appears the rear shots on the Walker didn't show up, so I now have a tank sitting in the middle.
Ah.
So when you're ready.
Yes, excellent. Yes, that is true. I did completely forget about that. Now you did see my Lascan team did take a bit of damage here, and what I'm going to do is just go ahead and if you move back to your base and retreat your units while near your base or other areas, you can reinforce your squad, bringing it back up to full strength. This will cost you requisition and therefore limiting your income. Thomas did thankfully say that he does have a tank in the field, and what I'm going to show you next is what a command ability can do. So what I'm going to first of all show you is the command ability, just what they are. They're located right above your main, right bottom right hand screen, and they take a different type of resources. These resources are gained through killing other units, so the more kills you get, the faster you can get these special abilities, and one of them is called the drop pod, and this drop pod allows the Space Marines to reinforce on the field. And in fact, I moved over my guy, and but because I was reinforced, he killed and moved over. But here we go, we are going to have a first shot at the tank, the frontal armor. Now Thomas, if you can go ahead and turn your tank around and hopefully not kill my entire squad while you're doing it. Yes, this shows you how good I am. And look, the turret is facing us, turning around. Oh, and there we go, we see a rear armor hit. Now obviously in a combat situation, you're going to have your anti-vehicles in the front row, and I'm going to move my force commander down to give these guys some more vision, because the force commander can take a little bit more damage. So as you can see here, he's charging up, and unfortunately we didn't get a register on that rear armor hit. Oh, there he goes. It's kind of silly, but there we go. You can see that a rear armor hit does actually do more damage than the frontal armor hit, and unfortunately Thomas has just lost his very expensive tank. So this pretty much goes through most of the basic things we've gone through, and a couple of the other smaller points which I want to go over right now is some really basic tactics. These are not specific to any game or any encounter, but they're just specifically designed to give you a heads up of what a tactic might be. So we saw earlier that when a squad is heavily damaged, you can retreat a squad so you don't lose the entire squad, so you can reinforce it later on. You can simply do this by hitting the X button or the fall back command. While falling back, your units gain an armor bonus and a small health regeneration bonus. There are specific numbers to this involved, and I will link you to everyone to a website afterwards so you can get as much information as you can possibly want. Alright, and so now we're going to go over the basic tactics of cover. So this is actually a really important aspect of the game, and there's different types of cover. And first I'm just going to show you and move around my little Space Marine squad, showing you that right now they're in green cover. Green cover means they have heavy cover. So this is the best form of cover you can get. The next best form of cover would be yellow cover, and this is just not as effective in any way as green cover. And the worst form of cover you can have is white cover. This means there's no cover at all, you're not getting an armor bonus, you're not going to get a suppression, a resist bonus, you're just going to have no bonuses whatsoever. So I'm going to move my tactical Space Marines here against these little pipes, and I'm going to move my force commander back. And Thomas, if you can go ahead and run in your shooter squad into the center so we can just get a basic look at what heavy cover can do. Oh, excuse me. So here we go. And now we can see that my Space Marines are in heavy cover while his shooters are in open field, meaning I have an armor bonus, and basically we're going to do a lot better in a ranged firefight. Now obviously melee units completely negate this purpose, but this was just a good basic demonstration of what heavy cover does versus light cover. And now the last real major tactic that you can apply in any game, because most of the time you're going to have one of these units on the field, is going to be the cone of fire. And that's exactly what you saw me setting up here. What I have here are my Devastator Marine Squad. Now, as we saw earlier, one Devastator Marine Squad in the right position at the right time can suppress a horde of units trying to swarm them. But unfortunately, they have a cone of fire, which they cannot turn around and adjust immediately. So, as you can see, you can set up your cone of fire by clicking on your units, right-click, hold, and then drag into the direction that you want in 360 arc. What I'm going to do is just going to turn them the other way around, and let's just see if I do this. Thomas, if you can go ahead and assault my position, and if you want to go ahead and move above the center of victory control point, you're probably going to stand a better chance. So what we're going to see here is his squad tactically has a better position. Now I'm going to try and redeploy. In the meantime, oh no, they were out of position, and we're back into the same scenario that we were earlier, where we're going to have to retreat and fall back because we were in a bad position essentially. Those units were not in the cone of fire. Now a lot of units have the cone of fire, and it's all these setup units. So all the units that have little time bars on top of their head, they have the cone of fire abilities. So in the meantime, while all this was going on, we made ourselves a nice little army of basic Marines, and what we're going to do now is just give you some loving, leaving thoughts of what a major engagement can really feel like. Now, Thomas will most likely win this because he is so much better at this game than I am. But this is just going to be a nice little roundup battle. Nothing special in particular, and my Land Raider Redeemer is actually being extremely awkward and bumping against every single form of terrain there possibly is. But this will also demonstrate to you one of the main tactics you may not want to employ in the first place. Blobbing up your units in the center of a massive engagement may not always be the best choice for you. So, Thomas, are you ready in the center?
Yes, I am.
Alright.
Moving on now.
Go ahead. I'm just going to control a move, and my commander gets up front, and as soon as he gets in there, he's going to be able to teleport. As soon as I see Thomas's army, wherever they may be, it looks like they're coming in slightly from the north position. Oh, and we see he's gotten out a giant battle wagon. And here we go, a massive engagement, and very little I can do. And it looks like I'm already... Oh, and Thomas is going to call down a major... Oh, no! This is how unfair and how good the guy is. And look, my entire squad, entire little army here has been totally neutralized. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching this basic tutorial. Obviously, this has been for some of the newer players on the field who have just come in with Retribution. And I just want to thank you all for watching. If you want more info, or more in particular info on anything that we've mentioned today, go ahead and go to Dawn of War to info. Just type that into Google and you'll find it at the top link. And you'll be able to find a lot of your questions can be answered through the forums and the posts there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a good day. Goodbye, everyone.